Hello everyone, and welcome to Top Tier Tier's review of the Little Busters side of the DC vs LB booster pack. Bit of a gap between shows, or there would have been if my co-host here had uploaded on time, but he didn't, so I guess it's not actually that far away. Anyway, I am lycheepunnet as always, joined by
Perfectly planned.
Yeah, Tim Tam, the Vegemite.
Hey Sandori des.
Yes. Alright, so let's just get straight into it. We've got ratings or whatever, and let's just get started with the first card, Favorite Place of Rin. It is a 3/2 10k. When it's placed from hand instead, you draw 2 cards and ditch 1 card, and then you have a climax combo with a climax called We Should Date. Now, to anyone who plays Little Busters, this should be a familiar name, because it is your level 1 combo's name.
Yeah, it's your 2k1.
Yeah, it's 2k1. That is definitely a thing it can be. It's also a 2-soul, which was printed approximately 800 years ago. And that portrait card, that portrait-sized, weird-looking card you can see on the screen there, is one of the illegal printings of that card. So I don't know why he's put that there, but whatever. Anyway, the actual ability is on the screen, but for those who are listening and don't want to read the screen, Climax Combo. When it attacks, if you have the aforementioned climax in the climax zone and have a Ricky on the field, then you may pay 2 and ditch 1 card. If you do, this gains 2000 power and the ability to clock kick its battle opponent, and on reverse to deal 1 damage to your opponent. So this is a really all-in card, to be quite honest. You have to pay everything up front. It's not like most modern cards where you get to reverse first then pay. The reason I assume is because you get 2000 power for, like, whatever. The more concerning thing is that this is a combo with what is most likely, or what really should be, a 2-soul. And at level 3, 2-soul swings are probably not going in. That being said, since you are already running the We Should Date combo, this card can serve a role just as a cantrip. It comes to play, it draws 2 and ditches 1, which is already quite strong for this deck, because this deck just doesn't generate that much advantage unless you want to mash brainstorms every turn, and honestly speaking, I do that most turns with this deck nowadays, because you generate a bunch of stock and you finally have good, well, multiple good brainstorms to use it with. I found this card to be fine. The combo itself is somewhat underwhelming, because my choice is 2-soul. I think if you play Bar, you are pretty wrong, and if you play 2k1 soul, you are extremely wrong. So right now, look, there is a promo that helps things along, but even with the promo, it's still a bit sketchy. I think this card is perfectly serviceable. I don't think it's anything special.
Hey, why is the bar a bad idea, Mr. Lycheepunnet?
Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Your level 1 combo is a 4/5. It doesn't kill anything, ever. And as a result, unless you hit level 1 first, which is not always the case right now, you probably won't be killing anything with the bar. You'll be forced to side attack. Now, the thing is, with the 2-soul, you get to do that regardless, and you also get to front or direct. And the thing is, even though the front or direct attack doesn't go in, whatever, like, they probably would have cancelled the bar shot anyway. And if it does go in, well, congratulations, you probably just won the game. The fact that it is a 2-soul non-reverse plussing combo with no caveats aside from you needing to get a level 2 or higher, it's like a card from Refrain if you want to look it up, means that it is just one of the best damage pushing combos in the game, bar none, right now. I think the only decks that could even try to emulate that are, like, what, Love Live Sunshine? That's about it, really. Either way, I'm a big advocate of the 2-soul regardless, and before anyone accuses me, no, it's not because my 2-souls are going to waste. I got my 2-souls really cheap, so I don't care if they go down in value. They're still up in value. This card is playable plus to me. I don't know exactly. It's mostly because of the draw 2 drop 1. The combo is nice sometimes, like you just win the game.
You can't give it a playable plus just because of the draw 2 ditch 1.
I actually can. That's actually one of the best things about the card.
But that doesn't make it playable plus.
Yes, it does.
I don't know about that. There are other cards that do the draw 2 ditch 1 thing, or plus
yeah,
you
but
play.
none of them have an incidental combo.
Right. So the combo is the reason why it's playable plus, not the draw 2 ditch 1. Right.
The draw 2 ditch one's like the majority of the reason, to be quite honest. The combo is just, it's there. I'll use it if I have all my resources. But if I don't, then draw 2 ditch one's great because it lets you keep going. It gives you it gives you bodies that you can money counter with, and it means that you just keep on going. Before, you just played Musashis, and if they super cancelled, then sometimes you just lost. Now you have insurance against that, and that's really, really important.
Sure. I think the combo is obviously really awful with the 2 soul, but I don't know. There are ways you can devise to get the gold. You can like play a crazy split, like if you are adventurous. And this set definitely.
I don't think I really don't think it's crazy.
It's not. I'm not saying it's crazy. I'm just saying it's adventurous, which is true. It's not something you'd think about, right? But the set has ways to obtain specific climaxes in your bin. So I don't know that the combo is suddenly that bad if you're playing a gold bar, like if you're playing the gold bar.
If you're playing gold bar, I think this combo is fine. It's still like vulnerable to all sack counters.
Sure, but the resource hit is less relevant for this deck than it is other decks.
Yeah.
I mean, because
the stock resource, like
you just generate a lot. The entire point of the deck is generate a lot of stock at level 2. That's all blind. You can just like the 2 stock is like a very low. It's a comparatively lower cost for this card than it would be in other decks. Is what I'm trying to say, which makes it. I don't know. I would give it playable plus, but only because I think the combo is actually workable. Like it's actually part of the card, not like some random text.
Look, even the 2 soul combo is like somewhat workable if you take into account this promo that we'll talk about near the end.
Sure.
So like keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Also, the idea of needing a Ricky on field is not difficult as.
Well, you have good Ricky cards now, so you've always had good Ricky cards, but now you have another Ricky card that's pretty good with this card. So.
And you have a pretty easy way to get it as well if you choose to play those cards, which I think you should. But we'll get to those cards soon. So yeah, playable plus for this card. It's certainly not pushed. I do not think this card is pushed in the slightest.
Nice card though.
Yeah, it's all right. The SSB is nice. Next card.
The foil art's way better.
What, for this card?
No, for all the cards actually. Especially the Rin though. Especially the Rin.
I do think that I like the original Ring art. It's like it's very, very classic. I guess secondaries wouldn't understand. Easy going one, Komari. It's a 0/4K. You can't play events or backups from hand, so this does come up if you are at level 2 and you choose to direct.
If this somehow lives.
Direct. Well, it doesn't have to live.
Sometimes that's happened. Sometimes that's happened, but
yeah, sure. But if you play it to just as a random direct attack, you lose access to both money counter and the Yaoi counter.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. And then it has some flavor text. If you have another character with Rin in name, this game's Animal.
Is that actually flavor text or is it relevant?
It's flavor text. Like, look, there are like a billion Rins that give 500 to Animal. So in like some sort of Animal deck, like this is effectively a Animal card for the sake of being on field. And as a result, that makes it fieldable in the Animal decks, but you can't search it. You can't well, I don't think there is a brainstorm, but you can't search it. You can. No, you can't counter. Yeah, no, it's flavor text. I don't think it's actually relevant.
Yeah. It's also the best oversize you have available to you for the meta deck or the good deck.
Only you can play it even in like the standby decks. To be quite honest.
Sure. I mean, it's just the best oversize the set has to.
Yeah, it's 4K. That's why it's the best oversize. I play 4 of this in yellow, green, blue because I like having pluses on turn 1. And you can easily work around the downside at later levels. So I'm just gonna give this what do you give this? Like playable plus, I guess.
There
it's
it
like
is.
A special. It's playable plus or good minus. It's one of those two. Probably playable plus. Anyway, next card. Okay, this one's not playable plus.
Alf loves this
Cute
card.
Doggy. Coop. It's a 3/2/9/5. If you have 2 of your climaxes in waiting room, this gains -1 level hand, and it is a heal. So your typical early play healer, with the typical early play healer condition. Encore, discard an animal character from hand to waiting room.
It's like super small.
This card doesn't like do anything worthwhile. It's like a advanced summon encore beta, except it's not big at all. You need like specific supports to make it good. The problem is the relevant supports are either like holdovers from level 0, so 500 supports for animal traits, or they are your anti-heal, which obviously does not work well with this card unless you do it in a very specific order. This card is fine in like the yellow, green, blue animal decks. Those decks don't, if they don't want to play like the 2-1 Rin combo, or if they don't want to play anything else, or if they have a heavy animal sub-theme, then this is fine. It's nothing special, and the fact that it heals means that it's not really working with LB's strongest, like one of their strongest effects, anti-heal. So ultimately, yeah, this card is not like, it's not offensive. It doesn't make a deck worse or anything, but it doesn't really do anything either. Like, there are so many cards you could play in this position. Like, there's a level 3 Sire with the exact, like, it's the exact same early play condition.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. It's bigger, usually, and it's a cantrip, which is way more useful than a heal for the anti-heal deck. I don't know, this card is... I'm not going to say it's strictly outclassed, because that Encore is pretty nice. But given the state of the meta right now, if you don't hit level 2 first, this card's basically dead, because you can't attack into opposing level 3s, it will get beaten down really easily, you'll be bleeding cards, and early play heal, while it is something relatively new in LB, it's not something that LB ever wanted, so I'm just going to go and say this is a playable minus. It's not a terrible card, it's just, I don't think it really does anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright, next card. This is Sire. It is also a blue 3/2. It is also a early play with 2 or fewer 2 or fewer climaxes in waiting room. And for each character in your opponent's back row, this gains 1k power. So the hope is that this is like a 3/2 11k, maybe a 3/2 10k. If it's only a 3/2 9k, then chances are your opponent's cards aren't super big either. So I do think that this is usually oversized when it matters. Now, the last ability, which is when this comes to play, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 to hand, ditch the rest. That's a very relevant piece of text. It's like I said with the Rin, it's a cantrip, which is valuable for this series in particular. It means you don't have to rely on brainstorms for your late game pluses. It lets you dig for your climaxes, which you do want to keep playing at level 2 and 3. And it is an irrelevant color, though it isn't in what I call a primary color. Now, the only reason I don't run this is simply because you have other things to be doing at level 2 that don't involve early playing. And as a result, this card is... It's got like a nice roll, and dig 3 is fine, but draw 2, ditch 1 is comparable. And when you want to talk about slot efficiency, you'd rather take the card that has additional text in the late game than shore up your mid game, which doesn't need shoring up. So I'm gonna give this card a playable, which is a higher grade than the could, but I also don't think you play this card. You play
no decks. Yeah.
Yeah, you put in the waifu deck. You can put in the standby decks. It's pretty decent in the standby decks actually, simply because it's like kind of big and
Gets
it
you a
can be played
standby.
from hand. You can draw into your standby, yes. Although ideally, I don't think that matters too much because you don't have very good standby targets at level 2.
Ecstasy mode Sire, man.
Yeah, you can summon that, I guess.
Enter ecstasy mode.
Yeah, that's like a stupid meme, but if it works, it wins the game, I guess. Yeah, so this is probably fine, the standby deck, to draw your standby. Yeah, whatever. Alright, next card. Beauty, Haruchan, Haruka, it's a 3/2/9/5. If you have 2 or more other Haruka or Kanata characters, this gains 1k power. So the idea is this goes into twins, though in reality it can go into lots of decks. This card counts other copies of itself, so if you just play a bunch of these, then you have that requirement.
Yeah, but no, never mind. You don't have every requirement. Sorry, keep going.
No, you don't. When this is placed from hand to stage, you may ditch a card. If you do, put the top card of your clock in stock. This is healing around anti-heal. A lot of the time when I say this, it's like barely relevant because you're not going to likely to play against anti-heal decks. But when we're talking about the anti-heal deck itself, it actually is pretty relevant. So this card is like your best heal in any deck running the anti-heal. And lastly, Climax combo. When it attacks, you may pay 2 if Best Shot, which is both an old stock soul and a new bar. Oh, sorry, you also need a character with Kanata name. And Kanata is a bunch of relevant cards. She is the Antiheal. She's the 2/1 anti-act from the the EX booster. And she's a bunch of other cards, including the Field Swap, the 2/2 anti. Yes, the Twins Brainstorm, which is like the main reason why the Twins Brainstorm is still relevant even in the standby deck, because it fulfills this condition. If you have all those conditions, then you may pay 2. If you do, burn your opponent for 2, and this gains 1k for the turn. That last bit's like not relevant. Point is, this is a 2 damage burn, which is really, really good. Like, damn, it's cheap. It doesn't have many requirements. It's just an all-round good card. I think, so when I was looking at the spoilers for this set again, just to, refresh my memory and stuff, this card stood out as one of the reasons why Twins would be, like, relevant again, because Twins up until now was pretty outdated, didn't really have anything special, but now that you've gotten surprised as a standby, and this card, you now have a pretty formidable endgame, you have a pretty decent mid-game, and some real potential to floodgate your opponents, like, completely wall them out of the game. I do think this card is the payoff for Twins. Any way you get here, like, this is what you're aiming for in the end. So I'm going to give this a good minus. I also think you can play this in, like, good stuff standby, because, the Antiheal is Kanata anyway, and you can even play it in the meta yellow-green-blue deck if you're willing to splash the Best Shot and get it off the Climax Swapper Ricky. Because this is actually just a better finisher. I would not recommend that if you aren't comfortable with that. But,
that sounds...
like Tim Tam here said, it is...
That sounds a little too adventurous for my taste.
Yeah, well, adventurous is how we're going.
I think I'd give this niche good. I think the biggest payoff, the reason to play this card, is solely contained within the Twins deck. And, good stuff
really
standby.
niche when Twins is so, like, a meta deck?
I don't think Twins is the best deck.
I don't think so either, but it is a meta deck.
Is that, if that's how we're doing it, then this is just good. I would call it good.
I think it is, yeah, I think Twins is meta. I do not think it is a high-powered set, but I think it has some, high-powered deck, rather. But I do think it has some really, really obnoxious cards, which means that everything else around it can, like, just be okay, and that'll be fine. Kind of like To Love Room.
A note about this card specifically. Triple, if you get assuming you get heals, you just need 7 stock to do triple of this card, which I find kind of nutty.
Yeah, you don't need any hand commitment either, because this doesn't discard.
Oh, you need to discard. What I mean is, like, you need to discard the heal.
The heal needs to discard, but that's usually
the heal fuels the stock condition.
Sure,
for every heal you don't get, you have to add like a stock. So.
Sure, but Twins is usually lacking in neither of those things, so I'm not too worried about.
It's just something. Well, sometimes you just don't have the damage to heal. That's another thing that can happen.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
But in those situations, like, whatever, you're probably okay play 2. All right. Next card, wife older than him, Yuiko. It's a 0/1k Brainstorm. Your other character in the front row center slot gains 500 and 1-cost tap. Mill 4. For every climax you hit, add a character in your waiting room to your hand. So, people who've been playing LB for a while might think that this is just strictly better than the Kanata Brainstorm from LB Anime, and honestly, you're probably right. Like, they're the exact same card, except that one will only apply to Haruka and Kanata. The thing is, in the dedicated Twins deck, most of your cards are Haruka and Kanata, so being Haruka and Kanata, as in having that name, is actually relevant, which we just discussed with the Haruka before. I mean, in that deck, you're probably not going to be short on Kanatas, but you never know. As a result, this card doesn't strictly outclass that Kanata, but it's very close. Like, this card is just straight up good. Like, it makes every deck better. It gives yellow, green, blue late game selectivity, which is useful. It gives the Twins and good stuff standby deck. Well, I mean, Twins can play this, And with this, you can get like a bunch of cards that you care about, like the Ricky Climax Swapper. You can get like any splash cards. You can get the I guess you can get anti-change counters and stuff. And you can get the hexproof support, which is kind of relevant. Look, this card is just straight good because it gives you an actual toolbox instead of what you had to do before in yellow, green, blue, which was tap the top of your deck and hope you got everything before level 3. When you did, that deck was like unbeatable, but sometimes you didn't, and you only just squeaked across the finish line. This changes things a lot, and I think it's a good card in lots of decks.
Yeah.
Not much to say
Not
about
much to say. It's a good brainstorm.
Alright, next card, Bogo Mia, 0015. When it is placed from hand to stage, choose another character and to gain 1,500 for the turn. So it's Pucci Mikan already with a slight power drop, which means it has a second effect. When it is placed from hand to stage, you may discard a card. If you do, choose a copy of that beautiful couple in your waiting room. And
who could that beautiful couple be?
Who knows? And this gains the Delusion trait for the turn. Obligatory Ash reference. This makes Ash stronger, but this gives 1/5 anyway. So anyway, this card is actually really like I did not think too much of it when I saw it. We'll talk about the BL. Actually, we should talk about it now.
I mean, we could just stop at saying it's a good discard outlet because the event it bonds to is like pretty good.
Okay, we can say that the event it bonds to is worth slots. Like I play 2 of it, and additionally, the 1/5 power is more relevant than you'd think because you don't expect your level 1 to kill anything, but if it does, then fantastic. That's extra value. So if you just randomly have this in your hand and like you think you're gonna go over hand size, then slam it down. Make one of your rings like 6k, or if you have the old promo brainstorm 7k, and now your opponent's forced to commit something against it. Otherwise, just hold it in hand, I guess. It's a... Go on.
Oh, well, I'd like to know, this is like a pretty nice combination of slot function for the deck. Previously, you ran Cat's Asami, which gives 3k to a level 2 or higher character, as well as like a draw drop Miu from card mission. But now you don't run either, you just run this card. And I think...
Yeah.
You save slots and you gain additional, like this event adds an additional dimension of function to the deck, which I think is like pretty good. So,
yeah. So it pumps your level 1 and it pumps your level 2. Because like your level 2s are kind of big, but sometimes you do need a little bit more oomph to force a counter, and this is oftentimes what gets it over. Like it actually has happened in erroneously high amount of times for me actually. So hey,
being forced to counter the level 1 ring combo is like.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's pretty funny, actually.
Like, or even just tying. Like, if you play against, say, Guardian, and you, like, play 2 soul, you play one of these, and now it's 6k, and your opponent has to counter it. And
I don't think they want to counter that. That sounds so bad.
They don't want to counter it. Yeah, so just, it gets you extra value out of your already incredibly good level 1 combo, and that's worth a fair bit in my book. I give this card a strong playable plus. It's not like anything game-breaking, but it is a very good utility card.
It's the best discard outlet for the best deck, so...
Yeah, and the evented bonds is also a ditch outlet.
Yeah. On
your opponent's turn, no less. So, like, you can get this, and then if you trigger a bar, you can actually ditch it on your opponent's turn if your opponent doesn't deck you out immediately, which is... it's happened once, and I played a bunch of games with this deck, so I'm still going to say it's not that relevant, but it can certainly happen. Anyway, playable plus. Next card. Hard Worker Asami. It is a 2/1/2/5 anti-change counter. So it's back up 2,500, and then the anti-change clause is pay to discard a level 1 or lower character from your hand. This card is fine in a good stuffs deck that doesn't generate a ridiculous amount of stock, but because the yellow-green-blue deck that I champion does do that, there's a card in Card Mission which is basically a 2/1/2/5 counter with anti-change, and the cost is pay 3, which seems steep, but when you have 2/1s that combo to generate you so much stock, it's actually just not really a cost. So ultimately, this just ends up having its niche stolen by a card which in pretty much any other deck would be terrible, and that's really unfortunate. This card is still playable in like a bunch of other decks. Like it is an unfortunate trait, but now that we have the Yuiko Brainstorm, that's not that big a deal. Good Stuff Standby can probably run this. Green, Red, Blue can probably run this. It is a fine card. I don't think it's particularly special in any way. It's not a sack counter. It's like I think probably just a playable.
Yeah.
You can't really put too low a grade on this. It is still a 2/5 counter. It still anti-changes stuff. It's really good against stuff like Kotori, Guardian, and Hinalogi. Well, I don't think really good is the best way to put it, but it's fine against those.
Oh, this is a bottom deck counter. That's really...
Oh, for Christ's sake, it's yellow as well. Why?
Oh, that's fine. Well, I mean, bottom decking is actually objective. Like it is pretty good against. So that does make its niche a little bit. It gives a better case against certain decks than the other anti-change counter though, because that one only sends their early play to the waiting room.
Yes.
So.
All right then. Yeah. Well, that's fine. I still think it's only playable. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't even rate the other anti-change counter more than playable. So.
Sure. Next card, Inflexible Kanata. It's a 1055. This can't side attack, and when the battle opponent is reversed, if you have best shot in your climax zone, which is again the old stock soul or the new bar, you may salvage a counter. This is some 2015 chick right here.
Not trait restricted. Hooray for LB.
Yeah. So this goes into the standby Good Stuff deck as well as Twins. I don't think it's actually particularly good. It is notable that Twins now has a Rize clone, so you can start filling your graveyard a little bit. But otherwise, this is still like a 6/5 on reverse combo.
I've heard the combo sucks. That's the thing.
I think you're right. Every other combo does suck. There are a couple ways to give this power. Like there's an old 1/0 sisters being compared, Haruka and Kanata, which combos with the same climax, and can tap a Haruka and a Kanata to give something 2k power. And it also like makes you like blind stock charge on reverse.
You're usually not using the power pump the turn you play this card though.
Agreed, because you're often brainstorming that turn. But it is like a function, which is something we should mention. We do have a 1/0
I think it's big enough at 6/5 for most metas.
That's fine. Like, but in the case you did want to get any bigger, there is a 1/0 global from Little Busters Anime. It's just a 500 global. You can tap it to give 1,000 to a twin or could. So that card makes this kind of big, which is fine. Yeah, I think this card is playable. It's like in between playable and playable plus. Like I don't think it's nearly as good as the cards I've been giving it playable plus to. But again, it's like fine. It's a plus in combo. You'll probably get your reverse. It's with a decent climax you're already playing. Yeah, whatever. Playable plus.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. You play it, but you're not like excited by it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, next card. Little Busters Young Yosuke is a 2165. It has no color requirements, which is cool. It's a little bit of flavor. When it is reversed in battle, if the level of the battle opponent is higher than the level of the opponent, you may put that opponent's character into stock. If they do, they stock swap. The bottom card goes to waiting room. This card literally goes into everything if you want it, and that's worth more than nothing. I've seen it jammed into Twins. I've seen it jammed into the Good Stuff stacks. I've seen it jammed into Animal. It itself has no traits, but like whatever. It's an anti-change stock bomb. It's pretty good against the right cards. Pretty good against certain decks. Completely destroys some decks. I think it's pretty good. Playable plus.
You play plus?
I'm putting it playable plus.
I'll leave it playable.
Because when the effect is good, it's like incredibly good. Otherwise, it's just a 2/1 that you can play without any color restrictions. This is fine.
It's still just a bomb.
Yeah, but bombs are like pretty decent right now. What with all the early play bullshit going on. Alright, Little Buster's Young Ricky is a 2145 level assist. Again, there is no color requirement, so that's cool, but it itself is yellow in case you want to use it as a clock photo or whatever. Anyway, level assist, and when this is placed from hand to stage, you may pay 1 and ditch a climax from your hand. If you do, then you may salvage a climax in your waiting room. So this is the card we were talking about earlier, where you can swap a climax in your hand for any climax in your bin. So if you've got a leftover 2 soul, you can swap it for that bar that you need to combo with your 2/1 Rins with. If you have a random bar in your hand and you want to play a standby on this turn, go for it. Pay 1 extra, ditch that climax, and get that standby. This is a fine utility card. Being Ricky is very relevant because it means that the Yaoi event, which we'll talk about later, can search him, and it is also Ricky for the level 3 Rin. This is probably the preferred Ricky to have because not only does it get the climax, but it is also a level assist, which means it's giving that Rin a bit more power, which honestly it does need. So yeah, I think this card is more than fine. It enables a bunch of cute plays. It itself is more than reasonable. It is a ditch out if you really want to ditch out and want to go -1. Which sometimes you do. Like, sometimes LB just has that many cards in hand. And as a result, I'm pretty happy giving this Playable Plus. We really need to refine this rating system. Like, I think this is worse than, like, the 3-2 Rin or whatever.
It's definitely just playable, man.
Just playable? You
think it's just playable.
It enables a lot. Like, I think it goes into...
It's... I don't know. I don't think this card is like that good. It's just fine. It's an assist that we're happy to play.
Sure. Playable's fine then. Alright. Next card is Little Buster's Younggren, a 0015. When this is placed from hand to the... Oh, I just noticed, the cards in sequence form the lyrics for the actual song.
How did you not know this?
Because I don't read the flavor text unless it's right in front of me.
Oh,
Little Buster's Younggren.
Secondary.
00. I'm like the furthest from a secondary.
It says the guy who didn't know about the flavor text.
Frickin' secondary. When this is placed from hand to stage, look at the top card of your deck and put it either on top or in the waiting room. It's fine. Scry is fine. When this is placed from hand to stage, you may discard a climax. If you do, add a level 1 or lower character from your waiting room to your hand. This card is fine. Like, I think it's pretty decent.
It's pretty cool in a deck that runs gold bars.
Yeah, like it gets you. You do have a bunch of utility at 0. Like you have obviously Brainstorms, you have the Hexproof Assist, you have color fixing if you need blue. I've done that more than once. Oh, not with this exact card, but I've done it with other cards. And you have the 00 Mio, or if you're still playing Cat's Asami, you have Power Pumps. So this is a fine discard out at any point in the game. And it turns bars into more reasonable cards if you don't want the bar in hand. And the Scry is fine. This card is playable.
Yeah.
Okay. Next card. 1045 Little Buster's Young Masato. When this is placed from hand to stage, if you have another character with either muscle or sports trait, this gains 2k for the turn. So it's not very difficult in the dedicated decks to have those traits, but again, that already tells you that this only goes into those decks. During the turn this is placed from hand to stage, when the battle opponent is reversed, you may pay 1 and rest one of your other characters with muscle or sports. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 muscle or sports trait added to your hand. This is a very welcome card in the muscle deck, or like the bros deck, or whatever. But it's like nowhere else. So this is just niche.
I think it's niche. Good?
It's not good.
Mine? No, hey. In that deck it is.
Not really. Like, that deck already had
What?
combos.
Come on. This card... What do we rate the Yuko? What do we rate that Yuko, then?
Yuko goes into every deck. This goes into one deck.
Well, but, like, aren't we using niche as, like, an attachment now? Like, it's just, like...
Hinologi also had no other good level ones really. Like it wanted to play different
Alright.
climaxes,
Playable plus
whereas
niche, then.
uh, sure, playable plus niche. Um, the effect is pretty good. The deck it goes into didn't really need this, but it's like fine. Anyway. Next card, Little Busters, Young Kengo, 0035. When displaced from hand to stage, if your opponent has 3 or more climax cards in their waiting room, rest this, and at the start of your opponent's attack phase, you may move this to an empty slot in the front row with your character opposite. So it's a Chaser, and it is 3/5, and it's blue.
Worse than the Komari, for sure.
Yeah, like, blue is just the least needed color, and like every other color is ironically a flex slot at level 0 in LB, whereas blue is not because you play 3 to 4 Ricky.
This
I
goes
think
to
you
the
play
muscle
4.
deck, right?
It can.
It's sports
Anything
trait,
can
right?
go on.
Wait,
Anything
but like
can-
if this, I mean, this is just a card to play in that deck.
I mean, the Bros deck will take anything it can get, if that matters.
Yeah. I'm just making an argument for this to be niche and not like bad or whatever.
It's not bad. It's like you can play it in any deck. You can play it in like green, red, blue if you don't want to play Komari. In fact, the Japanese just slammed this card instead of Komari for whatever reason.
Is it playable or playable minus then?
It's playable. Like, it's still playable. It's not outclassed by anything, really.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
in heavy decks, it's like, this is probably better than the Komari, especially if you don't run yellow. Alright, next card, the Yaoi counter. That beautiful purple 2/1 event. It has counter, which means you can use it on your opponent's turn when they attack you, front attack you. Search your deck for up to 2 characters with one of Natsume, Naoe, Kyosuke, or Riki in their name. So basically any Riki, any Kyosuke, or the exact green level 0 Rin Natsume from the first booster.
Or that brainstorm.
Which brainstorm?
The PR brainstorm.
Yeah, brainstorm has Kyosuke on it.
It also has Natsume in it.
Yeah,
Wait.
but it has Kyosuke, so why does it also need to have Natsume on it?
Wait, it doesn't have Natsume. It has Kyosuke. Never mind. Sorry.
Sorry. So yeah, you search for 2 of them, add them to your hand, ditch a card. So it is not a plus, but it is deck thinning on your opponent's turn. It's a discard out on your opponent's turn. It gets you, among other things, your PR Brainstorm, your Musashi, your 2/1 Riki, your Riki level 0, and your 1/1 Anti-Salvage, if that's ever relevant. I don't think it is, but you never know. As well as the 2/1 Kyosuke Stop. So, pretty good card. The Mio package has opened up a couple more slots, and this serves as an additional discard outlet in addition to some emergency deck thinning. That also fixes your hand quite well. This card is pretty playable plus, in my opinion. It goes in Bros as well. Like, it does, even without Mio, like you play this in Bros. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This goes in yellow, green, blue, and that is enough to make it playable. Playable? Yeah, probably just playable. It's just playable. I wish it was better, but it's just playable. Okay, next card. Cat and Spy, Rin and Sire. They just had this art lying around, they wanted to use it. This has got no like flavor text. So it's an animal and weapon trait, which is kind of relevant. When it's displaced from hand to stage, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is an animal, weapon, or trait, or if it has Riki in name, add it to your hand, discard card from your hand. That's super clumsy, but like, whatever, right? Means it goes into a bunch of decks. When this is placed from hand to stage, mill 2. If there's at least 1 climax among them, this gains 3k for the turn.
Costless mill 3, basically. I don't think this...
When do you ever play this?
In those decks. I don't know. In the animal or weapon deck.
I guess the Sire deck maybe plays this. I guess the animal deck can play this.
Or your Riki waifu deck, man. Except, you know...
It doesn't have Riki
It doesn't have Riki on it. Accessory character or something. Shout out to Destination waifu tournaments.
I'm just not convinced this card does anything. It's like, it is a quote-unquote mill 3, More like mill 2.7 or something.
And you can't
But,
even run this like if you wanted the mill 2, because you're obligated to do the first effect when you play this card, which kind of sucks.
why does that matter?
If you wanted to, I don't know. Some people like their mill 2s on play.
You can mill 2 on play, then do the first.
No, but what I'm saying is you have to do the first effect. That effect is mandatory.
So
if you just wanted to slam it in like a deck just because it mills 2, you can't do that.
Yeah, but you don't neg from the first ability.
Oh yeah, that's right. Never mind.
This isn't like
that's right.
Oh
my god. That's fine then. Whatever. I think it's a niche card. Is it playable?
You can put it in any deck. It just isn't that good.
It's playable minus then. I'll give it playable minus.
It's like playable minus.
Yeah.
Alright, next card. Not so bad. Asami and Kanada. That's actually my feelings on this card. 002k. When it's placed in hand stage, mill 2. If there is at least one level 0 lower character among them, you may side attack without you may side attack without soul penalty for the turn.
It's like pretty neat.
It's a cute effect. When it's placed from hand to stage, you may pay 1, ditch 1. If you do, search your deck for a character with either sports, or Haruka or Kana, then out to your hand. So it's like a drop searcher for twins / sports, and it can sometimes just be a 1 damage beat that leaves a body on the field. Most of the time, you'll probably just ram this in because having a body on the field isn't really good at any point in the game. Except, I guess, at level 0, even then, you don't need to side attack without side attack. Whatever. Yeah, first ability is just mill 2. I don't think the other...
I mean, if you know you don't care about giving them a reverse, it's like something your opponent has to side, right? Because of money counter.
Sure. I mean, they'll side it, and then I guess that's kind of a plus. It's like barely relevant. It's like a plus to...
It's better than taking the direct attack. It's better than playing. I think it's better than taking the direct attack if your opponent doesn't care about the reverse. That's just me, though.
I guess, or maybe you'll just they'll anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
What's that? Is it playable? It might be because it only goes into the. Does it? No, it's for the anti-heal. You can search for, I guess you can search for Cat Asami, if that's a thing.
I don't know. I don't think it's that.
Yeah, it's heal. It's like melting.
There's nothing else.
This goes into, yeah, that's yellow, green, blue. But in Twin, obviously, it searches everything.
Sure.
In Standby, it searches most top end. So as a result, this is like playable. Yeah.
The mill is nice on drops or truce.
Mm-hmm. Alright, next card. Head of Dormitory, Achan Senpai. It's a 1/5. Your other character sends stock in 500 power, and when your character's trigger check reveals a climax, if it is a bar, you may ditch a card from hand. If you do, add a card from your clock to your hand, and then clock yourself. So basically it means if you trigger a bar, you resolve everything first, so like you put blind stock, and then this ability activates and you can ditch the bar you just got to take any card from your clock and then clock yourself. So it filters whatever bar you triggered into a plus from your clock, and then you quote-unquote mill 1, which is like
they really tried to make like 8 gold bar.
8 bar.
Yeah. I think
look, they tried, but I don't know how much credit I want to give them. Anyone who has played Yellow, Green, Blue LB for any extended amount of time knows that 2 souls still better than the bar. And as a result, either they were trying to give people who didn't have the 2 souls a little bit of extra support, or they were completely blind as to what the actual build was. And I like to imagine it was the former, because I like giving people a bit more credit, you know? This card doesn't get played in anything. There's something on your end. This card gets played in 8. If you have to play 8 bar, I think you're making a mistake and you shouldn't be playing that deck. Like, it's not even a waifu deck, it's just a bad deck. But if you do want to play bars, then sure, this is a niche playable in that deck? Like, playable minus
Yeah. I'm not. This card sucks.
yeah, I agree.
Alright.
Next
On
card.
to climax. Some climaxes.
Yep. So the first one's We Should Date the Bar. We did touch on this a bit earlier in terms of why the 2-soul is still better. It's simply because it's so much better at level 1. The 2-soul damage sticks, you auto win the game. It lets you front attack very easily without needing other cards to support your 1/0/4/5s. And
the power is
yeah,
just
like
less relevant than the soul. Like,
that's actually enough. Like, even with the 2-soul trigger, which sucks, and with the extra soul, sometimes it's a really bad end game. It's just so much better at level 1 that you shouldn't really be thinking about this, except as like a one-off to fetch with your Ricky, and that's the most you should do with this card.
yeah. Did you want to try
If
rating
you don't
this?
have the choice. Like it's this is niche poverty, I guess. Because not everyone has 2 souls, so sometimes you gotta run this, and it kind of sucks, but like, whatever.
I think it's just playable.
Like, let's put it this way, the 1/0 combo with the 2 soul, as a level 1 combo, is like a full 2 tiers above the same combo with the bar. Let's put it that way.
I mean, it's just the power is less relevant for that combo, so.
It's just not relevant unless you have like 3 other cards to support it, and that's not always going to be the case.
I mean, some
Alright,
people, like, depending on what you're playing against, right, you could front attack maybe more often, but it's like very, the combo is like really small to begin with, so it would have to be like, it's like a very specific place where that would actually make a difference. You'd have to be playing against 5k level 1 combos all the time, basically.
Shit. Alright. Next card, always good friend, comes Rin and Komari. It's a 1/1/6k. Animal and Sweets trade, so it goes in like the animal deck and the Komari deck. When this attacks, if you have 2 or more characters with either animal or sweets, so you know, Rin, Komari could. This gains 2k power for the turn, and Clock on Call.
This is not very good.
No, this is like a means to an end.
Do these decks actually, does Animal actually play this card?
Animal does not. Animal has the Rin combo, it has 1/0 Assassin, it has various 1/0/6/5s, and it has a 1/1/7k constantly with Encore. It does not have a Clock Encore that's comparable. Like, the closest comparable Clock Encore is the Yuiko and Kud, which is red, so like obviously they don't have the same. But that card only goes in Red Blue Starduster and Yuiko Waifu, so this card doesn't even share the same niche.
Yeah.
This card is just not good. It's like niche minus, or like what would you give, like
playable minus niche?
Yeah, it's like playable minus niche. It's not a terrible card. It's just not something you'd optimally have in any deck, I don't think.
Yeah.
Alright, Mascot Kud. It's a 1/2/8k with 1 soul and character on. This only goes in good stuff standby, and it is shockingly mediocre in that deck. I do not regard anything short of playing this exactly on turn 1 as relevant, and even then you need another 0 to attack with, and only on level 2 can you start getting any value whatsoever. It is notable that this is pretty big, especially if so my idea of a good stuff standby deck is actually one that standbys this card out, and at level 1 it plays the 1/1 Rin, which gives 1/5 to the Senna front row slot, at which point this card is just not contestable. It's just ridiculously huge, and at that point you kind of have a deck there, but until then it's like not worth it really. Just standbying out a 1/2/8k is On the plus side, you do get to wreck anyone who's like, if anyone's playing the 1/1 Yo Bomb from Sunshine to deal with 2/1 Lichis, then you completely wreck them with this card.
Yeah, amazing. Wait, they'll just get over it like, with their power pumps or whatever. The 1500 Revenger or something.
Yosuke counter, you don't care about that. It'd be like 11-5.
Dude, they can run over Luchas. Don't underestimate Love Live Sunshine.
Global memes aside, this card is a fine standby target. Like, I'm not going to take that away from it, but it's also nothing too special. I'll give it a
Niche.
playable niche.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Good Stuff Standby is a super strong deck. Alright, now we get to the actual standby card, which might generate, like, more discussion than most cards in this set. So, LB is a really, really old set with a lot of mistakes in design. Like, a lot of cards in LB are just incorrect. They shouldn't be, like, the way they are.
Yeah.
Anti-Act? Anti-Act, I think, is actually a really interesting card, because it's just... So there's a card in Little Busters EX. It's a red 2/1/8K Kanata. It has the startup effect, pay 1. If you do, your opponent cannot activate startup effects from characters on stage until your next turn. So you stop their Brainstorm for a turn, you stop their Field Swap from a turn, you stop any trance effects for a turn, you stop any anything like pay 2 to salvage, and pay 2 tap to salvage. And you stop things like Lahal, Overlord from going to memory, Made Mio, that sort of stuff. It doesn't sound that bad, but when you're sitting across from an opponent at level 1 who has this 2/1/8K out, it's like not even a bad card to have. It's a 2/1/8K before supports, and every turn they're paying 1 upkeep, and that 1 upkeep is stopping you from brainstorming. Just from brainstorming. It doesn't matter what else your deck does. Your deck could have cards that say, like, tap to pump 1k to something. That's out of the question. Your deck could be like Milky Holmes, where it's tap to level swap something. And you just lose. You can't do anything. Your deck is all around those abilities, and you no longer have access to those abilities. You do have auto effects, and you do have, like, climax combos and stuff. But you'll find that when you sit across from this card and say your opponent's got some way to protect it, they've got like a counter, or they've got the 3/2 field swap on board as well, you're going to feel really, really helpless. Like, that is just one of the best standby targets in the game. And I think the only thing that really goes over it is other standby decks that go bigger. Because, you know, they just go bigger and don't care, because those decks, that's just what they do. Every other deck has a real problem against this card. And that's just one standby target, right? Other standby targets, you've got a 1/1 anti-salvage support. You've got 2, actually. And the better one is, ironically, the worse anti-salvage. It's 1/5 to center front row. I touched on it briefly before. But if you can standby that out, then you're probably going to go uncontested at level 0, except, you know, bombs. And then you're probably going to go uncontested in 1 row at level 1. And anytime your opponent salvages, at any point in time, you get free stock. Like, that's a really solid card to have from level 1 onwards. You've got the Field Swap Kanata and Twins. Before, you had this really stupid advanced summon condition where you needed 5 or less cards in deck. Now you just need to have this card in waiting room, and you need to trigger or play a standby. And now you have a Field Swap, which is oppressive, especially when you talk about it with an anti-act. Like, your opponent loses cards on field, your opponent can't brainstorm for cards, they're screwed. What else is there? There's like a 3/2 Mio, which supports all level 3s. There's
Ecstasy mode.
There's we can get to that soon. There's 2/1 changes that change if they're tapped at Encore step. So they're slightly cheaper than Climax changes. And the cards they change into aren't bad either. There's a Komari, which has, when this reverses a level 1 or higher character, it's like they were, you know, future-proofing for standby. When your card that you summoned at level 1, your level 3, reverses to level 1 or higher, you get to draw and drop. It is mandatory, but that's a really powerful effect. And just like Tim Tam mentioned, we have Ecstasy Mode Sire, which, if you don't know what Ecstasy Mode Sire is, great grammar there, it's really powerful. What it does is, if you reach your Encore step with 6 cards in clock, so at the beginning of your Encore step, shuffle your clock into your library. So you just heal 6 for free. And you can do that starting at level 2. So your opponent's forced into this stupid game where they have to, like, bank on triggering, or they have to side for no damage.
And you have money counter.
Exactly. You've got money counter, and at that point you standby out like a threat that looms over your opponent and says, make shitty attacks, otherwise your opponent heals 6. Like, it's really, really oppressive. I haven't tested it, but my god, that sounds dumb. So yeah, standby in LB is what it's a lot closer to being broken than a lot of sets that try to push standby even are. Like the only standby set that's better, I think, might be SAO and Symphogear because they have those 3-2 supports. But aside from those, this deck is more oppressive against any random deck with its standby, thanks to the anti-act Carter, thanks to the field swap, thanks to the 1-1 support, thanks to any changer, and thanks to Ecstasy mode, which is just a dumb card, a mistake of design. And like, if you've ever played against Osamatsu meme decks, which have that card in it, when you hit your opponent to 2-6 because of an aberrant double soul trigger, your life is over. You just want to pick up your cards and leave the store, because that's like the worst feeling in Weiss. And yeah, that's standby for you. Standby is, I think, probably just good in this set.
I think it's meta, actually. Or it's like, it's weird because it makes certain other cards meta. I don't know what to think about that. I think is that reason enough to call it meta?
I don't think you call this meta. I think the cards that are meta become like the anti-act,
the
1-1.
Sure. They become meta, but this is just good. That's fine.
Yeah, as long as you guys listen to us when we say that, then that's good. Otherwise, you can consider this as meta.
The other thing is this only flies because they designed the best shot combo to be slot efficient. So you don't sacrifice much of anything when you're running standby in that deck. Mainly because your level 1 combo and your level 3 combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you have room for the standby.
One of the balancing things they did with this card is this is the only reprinted climax in any set ever, I believe, to not have a climax combo associated with it in that same set.
Yeah, that's also. What did this combo with anything before? It was just a door, right?
Yes. Oh no, it was a door. It comboed with a 3-2, 8-5 Yuko with bodyguard. When that character attacked, you salvaged a card.
Whoa!
Yeah. So yeah, you could actually stand by that card out if you were freaking retarded. Yeah, I haven't even mentioned we have bodyguards in this set, so you can stand by out. And if you stand by out a 1-1, and then you stand by out the 1-1 support, then you stand by out bodyguard, and you play another 1-1 support, it's like kind of doing it, not really, not that strong. I don't know. Anyway,
whatever.
I still think standby as an effect has way too much potential, and that playing standby is really bad. But in the case of LB, where you can standby out the anti-act, that becomes really, really stupid really quickly. Like, your opponent is actually under a floodgate, something that we don't often see in White Schwartz, especially not multiple in the same deck. When your opponent has a field swapper, anti-act, and anti-heal all on board at the same time, and God forbid they're playing the 1-1 anti-salvage as well, your opponent is getting so much value, and basically you have to rely on sacking a Soul Rush to even be in the game, and that's a really abysmal feeling. So yeah, I can call this card good, and I can feel fine about calling it good. Alright, next card. Yuiko in maid uniform. This is kind of a meme, to be honest. 217k. When I saw this was one of the reprinted cards, I just rolled my eyes really hard. So there's a tiny maid subset of cards in LB. There is a 3-2 maid Mia, which is actually a really good card. There is this card, which used to be a 2-1 vanilla, hooray. And there is a 1-0 Komari, which we'll talk about very shortly. That's not where it links. That's Yuiko's leg, and that's Mia's leg.
Don't, dude. This is how it works.
Well, you're. Alright, so 217k. When this is placed from hand to stage, check to card your deck, put it either on top or bottom, and then when this attacks, if the character opts this level 3 or higher, this gains 6k for the turn, which is like fine. Now, the only reason this card is relevant at all
is because of this picture 3-2.
Well, I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry, and the next card, but like, I mean, the maid. It's cool that it's a maid too.
Yeah, this card you slam into the Starduster deck. You can play a yellow-blue version of that deck instead of the red-blue version that was being played before. and this is like kind of an okay engine to be playing. 3-2 Made Mio is like insanely powerful. If you stand by that card out, then it's just straight value. I think. I don't know. I've never actually done it. It sounds really good. Anyway, if you make that deck into yellow, red, blue, then you can do stuff. So the 2-1 Yuiko is kind of whatever, but then you talk about the next card, which makes the 2-1 into like an actual card. 1-0 Komari. It used to be a vanilla, so just like the Yuiko, it used to be vanilla. But now it has all your other Yuiko made at uniform gets 1 soul. So cool, I guess. They become 2-1 2-soul beaters. And they can just be the vanilla, so 2-1 8-5 2-soul beaters are fine. And then it has the other ability, up to once per turn. When your other Mio and Maid uniform is placed from hand to stage, you may put the top card of your deck in stock. So the reason this is once per turn is because Maid Mio loops into herself, and that would be really dumb.
That'd be awesome. What are you talking about?
I agree. It would be really.
It wouldn't even be that good, like, because the deck kind of sucks.
I also agree that it wouldn't really be that good, but you know, Bushiroad's the fun police. You're not allowed to have anything broken.
I guess it'd be broken in standard.
I was about to say you have to safeguard for standard. Anyway, it means your Mios are a 3-1 heal that goes +1 by finning 2 cards from your deck. So, obscenely powerful effect from a bygone age, but ultimately not that impactful in today's wild, wacky world of Weish Faults. Both the Komari and the Yuiko are
playable niche.
Playable niche. And
maybe
I don't
the
think
Komari is it even playable plus?
I don't think she's playable plus.
Yeah.
They're both just playable niche. Alright, we are nearing the end. So this is the, I think, last
yes, this, yeah.
Cheerfully Noisy Haruka, 105k. When this is placed from hand to stage, you may reveal up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. If you reveal any cards this way, choose up to 1 with Haruka or Kanata in the name, add it to your hand, put the rest in the waiting room, then ditch a card. It is Rise for Harukana, so Haruka and Kanata are the twins.
Niche.
This is really,
but very good for that deck, I think. Oh no, I mean, well,
we said that
sorry. I think it's just a good card.
This card is super good for that deck. It fills your graveyard for your brainstorm and your combo. It is a discard out, which that deck desperately needed.
It's also milling, which that deck also needed.
Yeah, milling is something that the deck really wanted. And as a result, in context, this is like a good minus. I think this card is a fine card. Haruka Kanata has a stacked level 1 right now, but you still make room for this because that's how good this card is. For the record, it uses a vanilla, so you're not missing out on anything. Alright, and lastly we have Best Shot and Little Busters. We can talk, well, that's not true. We have promos.
We have promos, yes.
Yeah, we can talk about Best Shot, but I don't think there's much to talk about.
This one is PO4. I mean, this is just like a 2k counter, right?
This is a 2k counter if you have an animal or music trait on field. That's not very difficult to do. Like, there are so many cards that do that. It's a 2k counter. I don't think you can play this in Twins, but you can play it in Good Stuffs, because you'll play the Yuiko Brainstorm, and I believe that fulfills the requirement. I'm not actually 100% sure. I know Yuiko is music, but I don't know if this card is okay with music. Let me just check that. Hooray for Australian internet. I was in the States for a while, which is why nothing content-wise came from this channel. But, and in fact, I was in the same room as Tim Tam over here multiple times.
Allegedly.
It's Phil's. Anyway.
This isn't on translations. It's unfortunate.
Doesn't matter. I'll just get on YouTube because something about.
Are you thinking? What are you asking? What is the question here?
Does it trigger off music traits?
Can you not recognize that kanji?
I haven't gotten to the card yet.
It's on the. I have it pictured.
Yeah, your screen is tiny on my computer.
Just blow it up.
Have you ever tried to translate on global before from like ant-sized thumbnails? That's about what it is. Okay, so that's a slightly higher resolution. Yes, it is music, and as long as you have one of those traits, it is a 2k counter. So yeah, Good Stuffs can play it because it triggers off the Yuiko counter.
Playable.
Yeah, you can play it on if you have the Rin and Yosuke Brainstorm as well. So yeah, playable, 2k counter, pretty decent. Okay. And lastly, Yes.
There's
This is the
another.
card,
There's like a cost 0 thing, but I don't think that's actually relevant.
the one. Well, you
Yeah.
can stand by it out, then your opponent's
Oh,
like WT.
I guess. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, so the 3/2 Sire in front of you has some generic text, like when it comes into play, it gets 3k or something, like it doesn't even draw a card. And then when it comes into play, you may pay an additional 1. If you do, choose up to 2 cards in your opponent's waiting room. Any cards. Wait, is it you or your opponent chooses?
You choose. You
You
choose.
choose. Alright. So basically, you choose 2 climaxes and shuffle everything back. Now their deck is somewhat uncompressed, and your 2-soul combo is that much more likely to actually stick and win the game.
I think this is a powerful effect in general for like any deck, right? I mean, like every finisher gets a lot better if you have the stock to play this.
3 stock is a fair bit to pay, but LB is certainly a deck that can afford it. So we in.
YGB, but not Twins, probably.
Twins can still play it, but
I mean,
like-
if you're using, I mean, it usually doesn't. It usually doesn't. 3 stock is a lot.
I know Twins usually doesn't have the stock to play it, but the deck can play it. Like, if for some reason you just don't have the climax, because that deck doesn't really dig for its climaxes very easily, because it doesn't really run anything that digs. Then this card is a fine alternative to try and push some damage through. I still wouldn't necessarily run it myself, but it is it's a card you can consider.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's
Playable,
I think
right?
that's the. Yeah, look, I've got this playable plus because, like you said, it's a really strong effect, and I feel like every deck that can run it should consider it.
I think I'll actually put a playable plus 2. I think it's better than the playable lot of playable cards.
Agreed. Okay, that's all of LB and DC, and I guess we do an overview. It's really hard to do an overview for this set.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Okay,
All right.
we'll be right back.